Hello. Today we're speaking with Maxine Remme, who's been a member here at Our Savior's for 26 years now. Many of you have probably seen Maxine up in front lecturing. She's also a member of our adult choir. She's played handbells for many years. She used to play the piano for worship services on Saturday night, and for many years she played for the services down at Medelia at the nursing home. You also might know that she's been on the council as well for the last few years and has been secretary for the church on council, again, as long as, well, as I can remember. So, welcome, Maxine. So church has always been a big part of your life, even in past churches, Maxine. And it seems like a silly question, but how do you serve God?
Along with everything that you listed, I also think I serve God by modeling outside of the church, inviting people to be a part of our church. I would like to think that my role modeling is something that's another good way to serve God.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I love that answer because community is important inside and outside of church.
Right.
I love that. So what's your favorite memory of going to church?
In our household, when I grew up, we lived on a farm outside of Hanska, and Sunday morning was just an automatic church service. I guess there just wasn't any question, and nobody ever did question it, but we just always went to church. But the one thing I remember is getting all dressed up for Easter with the gloves and the fancy socks and the shoes and the hat and the whole bit. Whether it was snowing out or not, we got all dressed up for Easter Sunday. So
Right.
That's a memory.
Nice.
Yeah.
I suppose they were patent leather shoes, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you had to have the patent leather with baby oil that you brightened them up with, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, that is a good memory. Has there ever been a time where you needed your faith for guidance?
Absolutely. When our daughter was ill and ultimately passed away, I really struggled with my faith. I was angry. I couldn't understand why. And I kept asking that question, why? I didn't attend worship service for a while because I just couldn't do it. And finally, my husband looked at me one day and he said, God needed Beth in heaven, and so he chose to take her. And that sort of stuck with me, that she was taken for a reason and someday we'll know why.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you feel her presence
Everywhere.
everywhere and in church, because she was very involved in church,
Oh,
too,
absolutely.
and was very involved in the music, so I'm sure that's bringing back lots of memories.
We have a CD that she made for our goddaughter
Oh,
that we didn't even realize existed. But it's a whole CD of her piano music, and I play it often just
I'll bet.
so I can be with her.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yep.
So my next question is, do you pray every day, and do you have a favorite time to pray?
That one is kind of interesting. I don't know that I have a favorite time. I feel that I'm always praying, that my thoughts and so on are always a prayer. As far as sitting down and actually saying a prayer, other than mealtime and bedtime, I just think I'm always in prayer.
Yeah.
There's always times when I'm praying.
I read a book at one point, this was maybe 10 years ago, and the character kept saying, keep breathing prayers, and that stuck with me because I thought, yeah, we're praying all the time.
Right.
Yeah,
And I know God is listening.
he is, yeah. Do you have a favorite hymn? I can't wait to ask this question because you're so musical.
I think probably my favorite hymn is He Called You by Name. What's
Oh,
I can't think of it now.
well, I'm going to have to look that up because I love that phrase. He called you by name.
Yeah.
Oh, you are mine.
Yeah, You Are Mine.
You Are Mine.
Yeah, that's the one I love.
Yeah, that is a beautiful hymn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's-
just think that it's got so much to say, and I think it's got a lot to say for people who maybe aren't real churchy.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, if they come and hear that song.
Yep, that last phrase, I love you and you are mine,
Yep.
is really important.
Very much.
Yep. Have you ever been on a mission trip?
Well, that's interesting. When we lived in Tracy, the pastor there was going to take a bike trip with the youth. And the kids could sign up to go on this bike trip. And they were going to be gone for about 10 days, and they were biking over 400 miles. And so they were looking, they had chaperones, they had everything to go. They were looking for someone to drive the van, that a family donated a van that we could use to load everything in. And I came home from worship service one Sunday, or we did, and I was just spouting. I said, my gosh, we've got 15 kids that want to go on a mission trip, and nobody wants to go with them. Nobody will drive a van. And I was on a ranting and raving one. And my husband sits there very calmly and looks at me, and he said, Maxine, what are you doing for the next 10 days? And so Maxine drove the van for 10 days, sleeping on church floors.
Oh, my God.
And, that whole thing. And I thought, well, this is good. I'm going to drive so many miles ahead, and I'm going to sit down and read my book until the kids come. I never did get to read my book because the kids were right behind me on their bikes. And so that isn't bad enough. Then 3 years later, he wanted to do another trip, and he was looking for a driver. And so it was interesting, because then we went to Red Wing, and they rode bikes to Red Wing. So anyway, I call those my mission trips.
So if I asked you if you've ever been on a mission trip, that's what you're talking about?
Right.
There you go. And but what a great gift for those kids.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. And we had, we started out very early every morning so that we could bike when it was a little cooler. But at the end of the day, each of the groups were assigned times when they would do the worship service in the evening. We ended our trip with a communion service. And so it was all church-related in that kind of a way. And that's when I said I was hoping that I could be a role model. I was hoping that that was one of the things I was doing on these trips with these youth, is to model.
That's wonderful. I'm going to sort of throw you a quick question here since we're sitting by a Christmas tree. Do you have a favorite Christmas memory? In church, at home, as a child?
No. Actually, my favorite memories are actually right now, and have been for the past few years, when we get the whole family together, and we have 18 of us, and we all attend worship service, and then we go home and have our meal, and then open our gifts. And that's a very important thing for me, because we're all there, and the kids have been growing up. It's been fun to watch them grow up. And of course, their Christmas lists get a little longer and a little more expensive, but they also send me their lists, and then they include all of the websites, so that they make sure I get the right one. Yeah.
That's very good.
Yes.
Well, Maxine, thank you so much for everything you do at church, for being a model out in the community as well. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.